Hi guys, CasedCrusader here. I'm doing another ranking video, this time of the top 10 games of all time. For me. So, there were a lot of games that I really wanted to make the list, but 10 is a really tight number for a lot of really amazing games. I will just get in right to it. Number 10, Uncharted 2. Now, I was thinking of which one to put in and if it would make it over other games, but Uncharted 2 definitely set the standard for cinematic moments and basically turning a movie into a game, or melding the two, and it does so incredibly beautifully. I've also played the multiplayer for that probably more than any other multiplayer I've ever. The Uncharted 2 multiplayer was great, and I used to play it all the time. Very solid, which I didn't expect for it to be that as good as it was for the multiplayer. But for the single player game, I mean, the story is incredible, the characters, just the whole scale of everything. 3 and 4 are also incredible games. 3 and 4 are also incredible games, but the second one was where you just saw the elevation of that series to a whole new height, and it's just one of the best, most complete games ever. Number 9, The Legend of Dragoon. Now, this game stands as one of the best purchases I've ever made in my entire life, and I still remember it to this day. So a friend of mine offered me Orphan, Scion of Sorcery, which is a PS2 game based off of the anime and manga Orphan, which is also pretty fun. So I got that, a PS1 memory card, and Legend of Dragoon for $20. I am so happy I made that purchase because this game is amazing. The battle system is great. You have additions, so they are one of the first games where I played where you could do additional damages with pressing a button at the right time, but they get pretty complicated. I will admit I was never really great with them, but I definitely appreciated it. It is a 4-disc spanning RPG, JRPG, and it's great. I mean, the Dragoons, being able to transform into the Dragoons and do these amazingly powerful attacks, the story going across this whole adventure, just everything was great. Whenever you healed, or whenever you defended, you would heal a little bit and then take half damage, which, I mean, I used that constantly, and it was just another element. Just those few things of gameplay elements just amplified it even more. I mean, it was just such a fun game and an absolute treasure to me. If you've never played it, you should. It's amazing, and I cannot wait, and I hope that they make a remaster or something for this game because it needs to be played by more people. Number 8, Goldeneye 007. This game shaped me as a gamer in many ways. It was one of my first shooters that I ever played. It might have actually been the first shooter I have ever played, and man, is it great. I mean, there's only so many missions in the game, but the replayability is sneakily very high. I just would constantly play the same missions over and over, and there's also the added level of replayability just from the different objectives on the different difficulties: Agent, Secret Agent, and Double Agent. I mean, Double Agent is nigh impossible in a lot of the levels, but it's just, I mean, from everything from the missions to the characters to the AI to the bugs, like everything just shapes it into a near perfect game. I mean, like, there's not much left to be said about this game. It shaped not only my gaming, but a lot of shooters after it. Very, very many shooters after it, and has some of the most iconic levels in first-person shooting to ever exist. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption. This is the only game to make me cry a little bit. At the epilogue, like after everything was said and done, the credits were rolling, I just shed a little baby tear. And the game is incredible. The story, the cast, like all the cast of characters, everything is firing on all cylinders. I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. They really know at Rockstar how to deliver these cinematic moments, just with music and just with the smallest little things. I mean, just crossing over to Mexico and the guitar and So Far Away, like everything is beautiful. And on top of that, it's, in my opinion, the perfect size for a sandbox game. Because I don't like it when they're too big. I don't like it when open worlds are too big, but I also don't want them to be too small. I think it is the Goldilocks of sandboxes, and I've always considered it that. And there's so many things to do, so many possibilities, but the story is engaging, the side quests are fun, they're not all fetch quests, and even the ones that are have some little quirk or twist to it that makes them fun in many different ways. It's one of the best games of the last generation. I'm so excited for the second one because this one is it's just an amazing epic Western game, and any other Western that has followed it, or even the ones that came before it, they set the bar impressively and incredibly high. So I'm sure a lot of you have played this game. It's just, yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's emotional, it's funny, it's exciting, it's everything you could possibly want for an open world game and a shooter. Number 6, Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is my personal favorite, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, but 9's so much better, or 10's so much better, or 3, which is 4, and which is 6 upside down. Like, I know, I've played nearly every Final Fantasy, and this one is my favorite, simply because, I mean, in my opinion, it has one of the best stories, it has one of the best cast of characters. I will say, I also really love 10. 10 is incredible, but for this one, it gets the edge for me, because of everything around it, and the battle system is great. I just remember being sucked into this game and just playing it non-stop. I actually remember being snowed in when trying to beat Sephiroth, and I spent the whole day just getting ready because Sephiroth was so hard of a boss battle for me, because I didn't go and get all of the other, I didn't even get all of the summon materias that are really difficult to get, but I just remember the boss battles being great, and yeah, it is just top-notch JRPG, and there's a reason why it stood the test of time. To me, it is that good, and I didn't even explore everything. I mean, I just finished the game, and I know there's so much else that I didn't even get to explore. But even without that, it is one of the finest JRPGs to date, and yes, for me, the hype is real. Number 5, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. This is, in my opinion, the best Metal Gear Solid game. I know some people say, oh, 1, or some people even like 2 the most, or 4. Like, each of the entries in the Metal Gear Solid franchise are amazing. There's no doubt about that. Several of them were very close to making this list, but for me, just the scope of everything, I know I'm using a lot of the same terms, but I mean, that's what has been consistent among my favorite games. The scope, the story, characters, everything is top notch. The finale is incredible. I mean, that's why 4 almost made it, because of the whole ending. Everything was epic and amazing. But 3 it just kept me so engaged, and the whole camouflage system, everything about this game was an example of the finest that Metal Gear Solid has to offer. The action, the humor, the stealth, the epicness. To me, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the shining example of that series. Number 4, Kingdom Hearts 2. If you have seen my other video about my rankings of the Kingdom Hearts videos, you know that Kingdom Hearts 2 is an incredible game. It improves on all the little things on the first one, skipping cutscenes and all the little minor things, but also had a great story. It expanded on the Organization 13 story, gave us nobodies, all the things. It just expanded everything, also giving you reasons to revisit worlds by expanding that. Like, it's just a massive game that just is a true it is a game that is truly an epic sequel. Like, it is a sequel done right. It just does all of the Disney things in the best way, and it is just one of the best games that I've ever played, just from start to finish. The good, the bad, the frustrating, everything is just... it's Kingdom Hearts 2. I can't really say much more about it than just, it's an incredible game. The drive forms from that to reuniting with Riku, to all the different worlds that they added and changed and expanded upon from the first one. This game is just a huge, massive game that just smacks you in the face with how good it is. Number 3, Resident Evil 4. So here we are at the top 3. These were some of the hardest to get, because these are just games that I have played so many times through, and I'm just so engrossed with. Resident Evil 4, I actually, when I first got it, I almost took back to GameStop and returned it, because I could not get through the beginning part. I could not get through the church part. I didn't know what to do. It was terrifying. I was so confused. I was just panicking and just running around. And it's funny, I always had this thing where if I was stuck on something, I would go to my neighbor's house and play it, because for whatever reason, maybe with him as the audience member, I would just somehow manage to make it through. And I remember getting through the first part of Resident Evil 4 at his house, and we were both just like screaming. I was just running like around in the villages, and it is just, and that's just the beginning. That's the first 20 to 30 minutes of the game. That's like the cold open to the game. Everything else beyond that is just so incredible, and I can play through it constantly, over and over and over, and never get tired of it. There's so much that game has to offer. So many unique enemies, and the AI is very impressive in it. They're zombies, but they're not mindless. Like, they know sort of how to communicate with each other and coordinate as a team in a weird way. But yeah, just all the things that Leon has to face in that game, it's just utterly mind-blowing and so much fun, and I could play that game over and over, and I have. Resident Evil 4 is the pinnacle of the series, in my opinion. 5 was also very excellent because it followed closely to what worked in 4, but ultimately 4 and everything about it is perfection among the Resident Evil series. Number 2, Kingdom Hearts 1. Now, if you've seen my last video, I mentioned how close of a gap there is between how much I love Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, but it looks like another game slid between the cracks of that one in my favorite games of all time. But this game is the one that started it all. It is another game that shaped me as a gamer. It is so imaginative in what it does. It should not have worked. This should not have been possible, and this should not have even been that great of a game. But not only is it great, it's one of the best games of all time, in my opinion, because you've got great Final Fantasy characters, you've got great Disney characters, but one thing about Kingdom Hearts is that it has its own great characters, from silly to dark to just everything. It has characters that can stand up and alongside other famous Disney characters and Final Fantasy characters, and they are what tie those two universes together, and it's very beautifully done. There are like little things that would frustrate me, like from not being able to skip scenes and some of the camera angles, and from hitting a button to make you go up and back down around to do an action of sort. But these are all minor things in something that encompasses all the great things about Disney. Like, each of the worlds are incredible, all the Final Fantasy characters, and uses its own characters, which are so great and so fun, and interconnects them in such a beautiful and in a way that just flows so well, and very surprisingly, I might say. But overall, it just has so much heart, no pun intended, and so much to give. Any little minor complaints just are drowned by all of the great things that it does. It has very many moments that I keep with me close to my heart as a gamer, such as the Riku battle for the second time. I mean, it had so many things in there, the dragon battle and the Clayton battle, so many that were just so frustrating, but yet I cherish those memories, and even though I would get so mad at some of those battles, I also loved them because of how they were designed, and everything, while they could be tough at certain moments, were just incredibly strong, and it has so many moments that I keep to my heart as a gamer. There are just some moments that little nuggets that you just hold on to. Another example from before, with Goldeneye, is the cradle level, fighting Trevelyan at the end of that game. I mean, there are so many of these little things like that I keep close to me to this day from that game, that a lot of it, to me, just stands the test of time and really is a game that I hold very dear to me, and I love it so much. Number 1. Of course, it's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Of course it is. There's a reason why it's on so many people's lists, very high, if not at the top of their favorite games of all time. If you wanted to put perfection and wrap it in a video game cartridge, in this case, it would be Ocarina of Time. Every temple, every little part of the story, even the side things, are just so epic and so much fun. There's so many moments, maybe more than any other game that I've played, where I just remember specific moments, and they've stayed with me over time and shaped me as a gamer. There were a lot of points that because I used to play it with my dad, and he would get stuck at one of the bosses, and I, as a little kid, would actually be the one to beat those bosses. So it just, not only that, it just caused me to mature as a gamer, because, I mean, while they were tough, they were so much fun. I mean, all the bosses are incredibly unique and fun. The temples are fun to go through. I know you're going to say the water temple, but I mean, as far as water temples go, it's probably my favorite, if not one of them. Just the mini boss and the actual boss. Like, there are so many, there's a limitless amount of things that I could say in this game's favor, and it is just this tight little bubble of perfection within itself. Some of the other games that have taken things from this game have tried to mimic its success, even within the Legend of Zelda series, and those happen to be some of my favorite Zelda games because of what they've taken from Ocarina of Time and has proved successful with those other games as well. I feel like almost everything you could say about this game has been said, but I cannot say enough of how incredibly vast this world is, and it was the first 3D Zelda experience, and yeah, they just nailed it in their first try, and it is an incredibly perfect experience, and one that I will cherish forever. Yes, Legend of Zelda, my favorite game of all time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to hear what you guys thought, if any of my games made your top 10 list of all time. And I'd like to know what games are personable to you. I'd love to hear, please, leave me a comment of games or stories from games that have really touched you as a person or shaped you as a gamer. I would just really love to know what games are close to your heart, and I'd like to know why. So please, leave me a comment with all of that. I'd love to read it and hear stories of other gamers. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I am CasedCrusader. Thank you guys for watching.